Hello everyone, hi and welcome to a special ICB webinar. This is all about starting your practice. My name is Elizabeth Carter and I'm part of the ICB team here at ICB HQ. I'm joined today by Abigail Chamberlain from our compliance team. Good morning, Abigail.
Good morning, Elizabeth.
And the real star of the show, the person who really knows what they're talking about, Kirsty St John, who's head of our compliance council. Head of our
advisory council.
Bookkeeper in your own right, successful practice owner, and multiple Luca award winner.
Yes, indeed. Yes, been going since February 2009, my license. So yeah, been a long time practicing.
You started straight out of school, didn't you?
Yeah, of course.
So what we're going to talk to you today about is I'll just do a little bit of chat about ICB and just a reminder of who we are and why we can talk with authority to you about starting your own business. Then I'm going to cover I'm going to ask you to think about why you're starting a practice, what it means for you, and what it can mean for your family and for your future. Then we're going to talk about how the logistics of it. We're fortunate we've got Abigail here who will be able to talk you through all your compliance responsibilities. And we're also going to hear from Kirsty in terms of some of the more practical elements of starting your practice. How are you going to find clients, how you pick a name, all the day-to-day running of things. So before we get started, please do say hello to us. Thank you. Hi, Michal. Please do say hello to us. Let us know where you are. And if you've got any questions, feel free to pop them in the Q&A or the chat, and we'll do our best to answer them. We're recording this, so if you get bored halfway through and want to come back to it, that's perfectly fine. I'd also say that we're all very happy to chat as well offline. So I'll share contact details at the end. So I've got a short presentation, so I'll let everybody join us, and then I'll just find my presentation. So I can talk to you as well. Great. Okay, can everybody see that? Lost you now. Hello?
No, can't see it.
Oh dear. Okay, that's no good, is it?
I'm having trouble getting the chat to come up at the same time as the people.
Okay. It's always
Zoom has its little idiosyncrasies, doesn't it?
It would be great if I can't find the share thing in the first day. Right, hang on a second, let me try again. How's that? See if it's not on there. All good?
Yeah, all good.
Okay, so who are we? That's our all our lovely faces. I was going to say ugly faces, but all our lovely faces at the ICB Luca Awards earlier.
Best event of the year.
Event of the year. The majority of you joining us today are going to be ICB members, so you know a bit about us. But just to remind you that we're a small business too. And we're a purpose-driven business, and we are here to support you and help you thrive. And what we really enjoy at ICB is hearing stories from our members and watching people progress from beginning as bookkeepers to building businesses and succeeding in a way that suits them and their families. So we know that being a bookkeeper and having your own practice is a dream for many, because of its flexibility, because it allows you to make choices that suit your life, and that's one of the key reasons I think a lot of people start their own businesses. So as a reminder, we are the fourth largest accountancy body, but we're the only one that's specifically dedicated to bookkeepers. And what that means is that all of our content, all of our support, and all of our guidance is filtered just for bookkeepers, not for accountants, and not for business owners or anyone extra. We always put the bookkeeper first. So we've got over 3,000 firms already on our. We supervise over 3,000 firms. We have more members independently as well. We obviously have lots of members that work within businesses or work independently. And we welcome over 1,000 new bookkeeping students every year. And we need to do that because there is a shortage of bookkeepers. There's a shortage of bookkeeping practices. And anyone who's heard of MTD will know that bookkeeping really is at the heart of the changes that are being made to the way we file tax, and the way businesses and sole traders and landlords are going to have to file the information that the HMRC are using. So that's us, but let's talk a little bit about you. And it would be really lovely. Don't feel that you have to, but have a think. What does this mean to you? Why do you want to start your own practice? What are your goals? Are your goals that you want to grow a business and have a successful large firm? Is it you want to set up on your own, so you can have a say over your own timings and things like that? Do you want to fit around a family? Do you want to fit around a horse? Do you want to work 4 days a week? Are you best working in the evening? Is it that there's a particular part of bookkeeping that you want to do? Do you just want to do payroll? Do you just want to do bookkeeping for pubs? I know, Kirsty, that's not what you like to do. Have a think, and perhaps if you'd like to, you can share in the chat what your goals are. A lot of it is around independence, but also let's have a little think about how it suits you. That's one of the most important questions to ask right at the start. Are you going to feel comfortable about being in charge? And Kirsty, I'm going to come over to you. Really, what made you set up Kirsty's Counting?
Yeah, so well, I'd always wanted to run my own business. Like, you know, all through college I was doing a business studies degree, and I just never had that killer idea, like a Dragon's Den, you know, magic widget type thing. But I always wanted to run my own business. And then after college I didn't get the opportunity. I, you know, went and got a job. I was a buyer for 18 years. And then kind of whilst I was on maternity, that I thought that, you know, I've got some time, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do something for me, you know, kind of to keep retaining my identity, really. So I did my studies and stuff, and I went back part-time. So I had the opportunity. I had the security blanket of a husband at the time and a job that I was paid 3 days a week. So I was able to build it up sort of a couple of days a week, and that helped, I think, because I was at, you know, Chris was the first client, and then another lady, artificial grass, I was doing some stuff, and that gave me some confidence then to kind of build it. And then I was like sort of having to work evenings or weekends because it was more than 2 days worth, and eventually the opportunity came to leave the other job, at which point I could go full time. So that's 2012, so, you know, 13 years ago. But it was, you know, nice to be able to try things out to start with, and like you were saying, to kind of, at the beginning you don't know what kind of customers you're going to like, so you have to possibly try a few. It's a bit like kissing a few frogs, you know. You kind of like, I have done a few pubs and I'm like, no, don't want to do them all. It's a slightly different situation now, and I could handle them with the help of TCS Guernsey, I'm sure. But you won't know until you've tried it, or you have to be, you know, upfront, go, no, I'm never going to do construction clients, for example, or sole traders, or, you know, you get to decide. But that's the beauty of it, you get to decide. Like lots of people, like you were explaining, do the school run, and they do the, you know, what will be the core hours, maybe 9:30 to 2:30 or something, or, you know, however suits you. It's so flexible. But what you have to build in is that you can't work all the time, as I need to keep telling myself. You have to build in that work-life balance. And you know, I did a weekly payroll job for 4 years, which was a real commitment, and it interfered with family holidays and things. You know, and you can sort of cover out, but you still kind of always on tenterhooks. Did the cover thing work out right? And it's just difficult. So now I don't do weekly payroll. It's just, you know, one of my connection things on my website when I make a first discovery call is I do payroll, but I don't tend to do payroll for any other clients. I'll do it for clients I already have. It's not something I love. I can do it. I don't particularly like it. Lots of people love it, and that's great. That's their core business. Then they can make a, you know, a good living out of it. But again, you get to, but by offering that as a service to existing clients, it's another reason for them to stick with me, you know. So it becomes a bit of a stick, and that's partly why I want to be able to offer the self-assessment, and to be able to offer the year-end company year-end, because then there's no reason for them to go elsewhere if they can do it all with me. You know, you get that extra stickability. But generally, clients do tend to if you're doing a great service with them, I've had clients still from, 10, 12, 13 years ago, 16, that just stick with you, because if you don't give them a reason to leave and you're doing great service for them, why should they? Did I answer your question? I've forgotten.
I'm just quite interested in always around your why, but also your how, because you've always been a sole
Yeah,
operator. So I
yeah.
was and a smooth operator. You've always been a sole operator, and you haven't expanded, you haven't grown a team. So what's your theory around that then?
Yeah,
You just wanted to have your
probably a control freak, control
okay.
enthusiast, as Sarah Millican would say.
Enthusiast.
That's part of it, but also, I see and hear horror stories of staff, and it kind of has put me off a little bit. I do subcontract out for self-assessments and company year end at the moment. Again, for those clients can stay with me, but I get the service provided by another ICB bookkeeper. Because I haven't, like I said, I'm still studying. I would recommend anybody who hasn't yet got clients and thinks that they might want to do some study, do it now before you get clients, because you'll never find the time afterwards. But it's just I've worked enough, basically. It's kind of what I could be bigger if maybe I could
Yeah.
expand and push and that sort of thing. But again, I know other people. Claire Allen once told me that she kind of had lost the love of bookkeeping at one point, because she was basically running a business. She had become a business owner, not a bookkeeper, and kind of thought, oh, do you
I
want to
think
be that?
it depends what you want to be, doesn't it? And some
Yeah,
people we know want to start a bit. Some people want to run a business,
yeah.
um, and have all the sort of those processes in place. But also, yes, some people like doing the work.
And
Uh,
it depends on your personal circumstances as well with your family. This might be your pension that you're building to sell to become your pension, or to keep you in retirement once you've kind of got it ticking over, that you can kind of get yourself out of the business that runs without you. Great, that's a nice plan to have. But when you're kind of young and starting out, you don't think about those end goals. So you do have to go into it eyes wide open, thinking, right, what is my sure, I didn't do any planning when I started, but what's your short-term plan? What's your long-term plan? Just go into it eyes wide open, thinking,
and have a think about it. That's
yeah,
one of the things that we'll come on to, one of the things that we cover in our practice guide as well. But don't listen to Kirsty. You do need to do that planning before you start. You need to think about what the implications are, this thing around and think
have an
about,
exit plan. Yeah,
well, you have an exit plan, but also think about how you're going to cope in the first 6 months.
yeah,
Before any, I mean, and doesn't necessarily take that long, but how it doesn't when before the invoices are paid, how you're gonna
yeah. Have you got
doing
that
your
money
part.
in the bank to cover it? Yeah, because you've got, all you have to have done your from a business plan sort of thing, in as much as, right, what's it going to cost me? So you've got a minimum, membership, your insurance, as we'll come on to that, all of the other bits but certain things are absolutely cost to run your business, hosting a website, having membership of doing this sort of thing. And the other things to remember, that, as I said, you can't work all the time, so you have to build in time to take off to go to Summit, or go to a 2 days to Liverpool like I just did, to go see Engager Labs, to maybe go to Accountex. You have to build in some time to do some CPD and to do some networking, and to get out there and meet suppliers and meet other bookkeepers. That's all time that you're not basically working.
Mhm.
You are working, but you're working, in a different way.
So let's before we get on to those sort of logistics then,
Hmm.
I'm just going to just go back to our presentation in terms of what we need to do when we start out. And this is where I'm going to bring in Abigail.
Hmm.
The first step really is, obviously we want you to think about those things. But once you've got that idea in your head, and you've thought that this is something you want to do, and you've decided that you're going to start your own practice, um, pick up the phone and speak to ICB. So Abigail, can you talk us through perhaps the practice license, and
Hmm.
then we're going to move on to talk about AML. But the practice license is the foundation of any ICB practice, isn't it?
It is, yeah. So you can apply for a practice license once you've reached your member status. Or if you don't have your member status, if you're a registered payroll agent, you can then apply for a practice license. And then applying for a practice license is super simple. It's just a case of getting in touch and letting us know you want to begin your journey into setting up your own practice. We will send to you all the instructions on how to do this, including a practice license application form. And we will ask you to send that back to us, obviously the completed version, along with photo ID for yourself, proof of address, and a DBS certificate. The proof of address and DBS will need to be dated within the last 3 months. If you have any questions or concerns about doing that, just let us know. Along with those things, you'll need to send us a copy or schedule of your professional indemnity insurance. So the minimum amount for your insurance is 50,000. But obviously, if you want to get a quote for something slightly higher, then that's up to you as well. But once we've got all of those things, we will then be able to process your application and set you up with a practice license. There is a step before approval where we will obviously do our due diligence on you. It's important that we get to know who you are a little bit better, and we just make sure that everything is kosher and there's no issues with you having a license. So once we've done that,
I'm always quite interested in this. Not that
Yeah.
we're looking for problems, but excuse me, you're looking for members of good standing, is that right?
absolutely, yeah.
So what does that look like?
So if you are or you're setting up as a limited company, we'll check to make sure everything's okay on Companies House. We may well check to see if there are any adverse media articles that pop up about you in the news or on Google. We'll look at things like your LinkedIn account if you've got one, and just make sure that everything kind of checks out and there's nothing, no skeletons in the closet or anything like that.
Not ICB members, surely.
Not ICB members, no. Very, it hardly ever happens. 1 or 2 in the past 3 years, I think.
And as part of that, you get a call, don't you, from either you or Sadia?
Yeah, that was going to be the next point. So the last thing that we do before approval is we get you in for a quick ID verification call. And this tends to last between sort of 30 minutes and an hour, where we'll get you in to either speak with myself or my colleague Sadia, who you may have seen on some of the other webinars that we've done. And we'll just take you through kind of making sure you are who you say you are. That's why it's called an ID verification call. We need to make sure your face matches your ID that you've sent us. And we will talk you through our AML to-do list, which is all the obligations that you'll need to adhere to and the rules that are in place for ICB members in practice. And I think Jasmine somewhere has got a link to this AML to-do list. You can find it on the website. So we'll talk you through that and kind of all the things that you need to make sure that you're doing and you have in place. So there are things on there like your whole of practice risk assessment, training logs, policies and procedures, your CPD, as Kirsty mentioned, letter of engagement, that kind of thing. It's all on there. So we'll go through all of that, but it'll also give you a chance to ask us any questions that you might be having, or if you've got any concerns. That's what we're here for. Compliance team is not always bad. It's not associated with, well, it sometimes is associated with things that you might be doing wrong or it's put in a negative light, but we're also here to support, and that's primarily what we want to do.
Yeah, I think AML, anti-money laundering regulations have put the scare into a lot of accounting and bookkeeping professionals, don't they?
Yeah, absolutely.
But ICB is here to guide you and to support you. And we are rigorous in our checks. We have dedicated AML software in order to allow you to track the information, track and report the information that you need to. And we have regular webinars to make sure you're up to date, to make sure you're asking your clients the right questions, and make sure that you're keeping on the right side of the regulations.
Can I just ask a question on that? Interesting question came up in the chat about if you're doing they were asking about if you're doing freelancing bookkeeping, do you need a license? So I've said, yeah, if you're invoicing anyone for work, i.e. you're self-employed, you need a license. If you're employed and on PAYE, you don't. You can be both at the same time. Now, some people do stuff for free. Why would you? But you know, if they're doing, and I know that they have to go on our AML anyway. Now for that, you have to have a license, don't you, to get access to AML online. So
Yes, you do. Yeah. So you have to have a license. If you are also an ICB member without a license, it's kind of expected of you that you would do the right thing and set yourself up with a license rather than working without one. You know, that's a member of good standing is to have a license and make sure you're following the rules.
But so if you know, if your friends and family are asking you to do tax returns for them, you can't do it, even if you're doing it for free. You know.
Yeah, you can't do it without a license. We wouldn't be happy to have a member who's doing that. You would not be a member of good standing, and we would possibly even look to fine or sanction you for doing so.
Problems, yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. So please make sure you're adhering to the rules and you're doing the right thing. But that's what we're here for, to support and hold your hand the whole way through. So let us know if you have any questions.
I mean, bookkeepers are the guardians of good business, aren't they? And so bookkeepers need to be beyond reproach and stick to the right side of the law, don't they?
Absolutely.
And this is an interesting question from Holly around AML. If you use Engage and Zama to manage your AML compliance, would I also need to duplicate that work in the AML portal? Like, Kirsty, this is something.
I just answered that. Yes. It is annoying, but yes, the AML portal that we have to keep up to date is a regulation, and it needs to be, you know, updated a minimum of once a year. But you know, ideally you monitor it. For example, a high risk, you might check them every 3 months, for example. So yeah, using Engager and Zama is a great way to handle it on a day-to-day bummer. It's a great way to handle it, you know, from a client's point of view and from a keeping track of your identity documents and when they're running out and when did I last risk analysis my whole practice, you know, from a feeding into that kind of thing. Using other software is great, but you still have to do the ICB. Now, Zama has a link and it makes you say, have you done the risk analysis on the ICB portal? They know that we have to do it and they encourage us to do that you know, that link. So that helps. But still has to be done both places. No way.
Yeah. To add to that, failing to do so will mean that you're in breach of the ICB professional conduct regulations. And again, nobody wants that. So please make sure you're doing it. The new version of our website, actually, which is due to be released in the next 6 weeks or so, will have new fancy features that will alert to you as to when something is out of date or that needs looking at. So it will make your life a little bit easier than the current version of AML Online does. But we're looking forward to that being released. And
yeah, good. That's a good trail, Abigail. Good trail, Abigail. Yes, we're really excited about the new portal. So the new portal that's coming out, as I said, in the next 6 weeks or so. We're just dropping, crossing the T's, dotting the I's. I had to think about saying that. We're just sorting the final touches of the new website and portal, and that will change every interaction you have with ICB. It's a much more intuitive system, and like Abigail said, those reminders are really going to change the way you interact with us, because it will support you in getting everything, keep up to compliance. I'm just going to keep the questions coming because they're interesting. If you have a practice license for bookkeeping but payroll part of it, do you need a payroll practice license? That's a different.
A practice license is a practice license, and it will cover you for payroll if you're doing it either just payroll, or if you've got a bookkeeping license, a bookkeeping practice, and you're doing payroll as part of that. It'll cover you either way.
As long as you've got the payroll exam.
Yes, thank you, Kirsty.
I'm just going to go back to the deck in terms of thinking about some of our key questions, and these are just some questions that we've thrown together to guide a bit of conversation, really. But keep putting your questions in the chat as well, because we want to be able to answer them as much as possible. So just think about, who is your dream client? Because we talked about this at the start of it, really, in terms of understanding who you like to work with. I mean, I really like to work with nice people.
Exactly.
Which is why I work with Neil and Kirsty and the ICB team.
Good phrase, that don't be an
idiot is what we say. Don't be. That's what we.
That's nice.
That's wording.
Friendly. So what you could think about is, again, you maybe don't know this until you kind of get going, but once, and certainly when you get going, you're kind of scared to say no to anybody because you don't know when the next customer is going to come or go. And I've been guilty of that myself, taking on more work than I can handle on the basis that I don't like to say no. But equally, when you kind of have the courage to say, no, do you know what? I don't enjoy working for you anymore. When the phone rings, I dread that calling. You know, you have the ability to say no. You're not responsible for them being an idiot, as Elizabeth says. So, you know, if you don't enjoy working for someone, you do have the ability to say no. It just so happened when I did that I had 2 other people legitimately resign because of other reasons. So I had 3 go in a week and I was slightly panicky. At that point, I chose to go and do some subcontract work for another bookkeeping firm to kind of boost my income in a different way whilst I built up my own client bank. You know, there's ways and means to do these things. Thinking about, I have, when I just did a whole practice review, I've got majority small limited companies where I do everything, and you know, they're like consultancy, or, you know, and they kind of go off and do what they need to do, stuff I don't know, project management, software development, whatever they do, and I look after everything. I send the invoices, you know, I process the receipts, I make sure the bank's reconciled, I prepare it to, you know, for year end. Those are the ones that I'm going to be able to do the year end when I get that exam. For others that are bigger, they've got an accounts department, so they do a lot of it, but I still, you know, look after the bank feed of it. So you kind of pick and choose which bits you do and which bits you don't. For me, I've always found I like limited companies because you can look them up on Companies House. You get that kind of bit more security with people, that you can kind of see the whole picture. Again, maybe it's because I've never done the tax returns. I've never felt that I fully know everything that's to do with the sole traders, and that I might be missing something of the story. So maybe that's why I've never fully felt comfortable doing those. I have done payroll only for clients before, but again, it comes up on the ICB thing as high risk, because, and I put that quite rightly as high risk, because I can see that their nest is paid for the pensions and I can see their HMRC account is paid, but I can't see anything else of their financials. So you're always slightly kind of, are they doing everything? You know, you just kind of don't get to see everything. So again, you pick and choose. If that's the kind of, if you really love doing payroll, then that's fine, but you have to accept that you're not necessarily going to know everything about that client. So you have to be comfortable with that. That's all.
Yeah.
Picking your risks.
So one of the things that keeps on coming up in the chat, and one of the things I had on my list of key questions really is how do you find those clients? Do you look for a certain type of client? Do you look for a certain can you talk a little about some of your routes in?
So yeah, I've picked clients up in random ways. Well, one's an ex-husband and one's an ex-boyfriend, but you know, that's just different. That's not compulsory. Whenever anyone comes around, like, you know, if the guy that came to the plumber that came recently, you know, I made him a cup of tea in a QuickBooks mug, and you start a conversation of, you know, how do you do your invoices? I had a plumber come the other week, about 3 or 4 weeks ago. Every year when I get my boiler serviced in January, he knows I'm going to ask him, has he done his self-assessment yet and whatever. And he's really slow to send me his invoice. I still haven't had the bill a month later. So, you know, his mum does his bookkeeping. And you know, it's a standing joke, but whoever comes, you just kind of casually drop it into conversation. My house is by a mini roundabout, and I had like a poster that I printed on Vistaprint thing, and it was sort of attached to my gate. So I figured that people might be, you know, stuck at the roundabout and just casually glance around like you do, but it was worth a try. But a lady walking a dog, knocked on the door and wanted a self-assessment. I'm like, yes, I can handle that for you via somebody else. So, you know, random ways that you get people. Are you friends? Make sure your friends and family know what you do. And then on the local Facebook group that you'll get tagged. I mean, people will ask for an accountant and my friends will tag me, so they haven't quite got the distinction, but you know, I'm happy to have a chat and kind of jump in and kind of go, well, you know, yes, let's have a chat. I can help with this, that and the other. But just kind of make it known. LinkedIn for a bit of networking, Facebook groups, Natasha Everard is just coming off one, but there's loads of people in there. The 6FB, the Facebook community group. Just kind of talk to people. Don't be afraid to kind of just say, hi. Yeah, networking. Lots of people talking about networking.
I'm also going to say, obviously, that you get your listing on the ICB website.
Yeah.
And when with the new website, we'll be listing individuals and practices as well, so people can find what they're looking for. But yeah, from a sort of pure marketing point of view, and I think we need to do. ICB will be creating some more content around this in terms of finding clients and things. In addition to being really clear about who you are and what services you offer, you need to make. If you don't have a website, that's okay, but I would have
in the beginning, I'm not overly techie, but I had basically a basic Google type page, landing page, which is basically thanks for finding me, because people do check. I check. I wouldn't buy anything from anyone without having had a quick Google of them and search them online or Facebook and whatever. But so have a presence, even if it's not the most wonderful website in the world. Have a presence that at least people have found you. I don't know if you've got kids networking, make sure you happen to chat at the school gates. Oh yeah, I was nearly late, I was doing a VAT return, and then people will just, oh really, are you an accountant? Or just start those conversations in kind of might feel like weird and awkward ways, but there's ways. Chat at the hairdressers. Or if they take card payments, oh, which card provider do you use? And oh, have you not had problems with a Stripe or whatever? Just kind of.
Yeah, I know a lot of our members, and Laura's just mentioned it in the chat around networking groups as well. Groups are really important, because the people there are open to finding new things because they are there themselves. But yeah, I think
some of them can be quite high pressure, those networking groups. I did so you might have a local parish magazine. You can advertise in those, because I've got lots of businesses, they go to people's houses, yes, but those people run businesses in your area, so it depends if you want to be local. If you want to be, I mentioned in the chat about the listing for QuickBooks Pro Advisor. I've had a couple of inquiries. I'm not big enough to get on the Xero listing. I don't know how Sage and Free Agent. I think Free Agent has a listing. Make use of those sorts of things as well.
Stephen Carr's put in here one of the key things about registering with each search engine, and this is correct. What do you do when you're looking for something? If you're looking for a plumber, you go to Google and you say plumber in my area, and it comes up, doesn't it? So
yeah,
it's about having all those ducks in a row, as well as making sure you've got those things. We've got a really interesting question here from Sarah that I want to address. How do you manage the lack of experience to begin with, as you are getting experience with your first clients? So how do you reassure them? And just before I bring in Kirsty on that, I just want to talk a little bit about the fact, Sarah, how hard you had to work to get your ICB qualifications. And these qualifications don't come easy. And the reason we put so much emphasis on how hard our exams are, and the reason that Abigail and Sadia hold people to such high standards is because people know that ICB bookkeepers are trained to the highest level, and they're trained in real world experience as well. So having that crest on your website or your Facebook page, making sure that you use your letters, MICB, or whatever they are, after your name on all your emails and LinkedIn. Make sure that people know that you're a certified bookkeeper and you have those qualifications. And then I would say, fake it till you make it, because it's having the confidence as well to do
it. One of the first clients I got, so after with this grass lady, that she basically had found me in our local town and wanted somebody that didn't talk like accountants speak, like debtors and creditors and stuff like that. And I basically had a call with her to start with and went to meet her. And she'd let me have a look at her QuickBooks, and this is like the days before it was properly online, but and basically I started talking in real terms to things that they understand. These people owe you. Shall we ring them up? These people have owed you for ages. Have you phoned them? Have you posted it? Have you followed up with phone calls and emails and whatever? And then, you know, these people you owe, right? They're shouting loudest, but they're the taxman. You need to pay the taxman first, or, you know, have those discussions. And just kind of really get to the basics of talk real things to them. You know, not necessarily, if you know how and want to, then fine, do a cash flow forecast, but basically just don't let them hide from those scary brown envelopes. You just deal with it, open and honest, and go, right, this is what we've got. I can help with this. That's a duplicate, so let's clear that one. This is real. That's, you know, you just kind of get stuck in, basically. You still know way more than they do. Let's just face it.
And also you've got to think about these, especially small businesses when they're beginning. When somebody starts a small business, whether that's jewelry making or window cleaning, they're not setting up the business because they want to be doing self-assessment tax returns or the books or things like that. They're doing it because they want to have sovereignty over what they do, just like you do, but also they're doing it because of their particular skill. So again, they're coming to you for advice and guidance, and I think that's really important to remember, that you do know what you're doing because you've got those letters after your name.
Exactly. And if you can really, probably as soon as you get stuck into the numbers, if you can kind of really clearly identify that, you know, you know you're doing a window clean for £12, right? Okay, so how much does that actually cost you to do? It costs you £15 by the time you've got there and you've cleaned it and whatever, and so, you know, perhaps you should put your prices up. Or you know, that jewelry lady, you know, does she not know that the silver went up recently and she hasn't applied that cost to her sales because she didn't know? You know, she just paid the bill without actually looking, well, actually it's this much silver per this much thingy, and wow, I'm losing money every. So that bestseller that she sells loads of actually loses her money every time she does it. So, you know, we can help with that kind of thing.
It's that curiosity, isn't it, that's going to have a real impact. Okay,
it is scary when you first get your account, you know, when you're doing your studying, and obviously it all matches nicely and it's nice round numbers. And when you get stuck in, you'll find yourself looking for that £7.34 that you saw and it's missing, and then it'll turn up, you know, and you will go looking for pennies, and there's nothing wrong with looking for pennies.
Absolutely. That's right. We need all the detail, don't we? I'm going to whiz through because I'm conscious of people's time and you've all got other things to do.
Sorry, talking too much.
Should I register for VAT? Abigail, have you got any, or Kirsty?
Well, it depends again who your target customer is. If you're talking to general public, and you know, if you start now and you think later I'm going to have to add 20% onto my prices, then you know that might be a problem. So maybe have a vatable price to start with. Kind of, say for example you were going to charge 100 quid. Well, if you could get away with 120 quid, for example, then you could keep all of the £20 until such time as you become VAT registered. But the client is, you know, equally, if you're dealing with limited companies who are VAT, or people or sole traders, whoever, who are VAT registered, they really won't care. So, you know, the price is the price. And it's kind of what impact it has on the other people. And you have to consider that if you become VAT registered, which you must tell ICB about, then you you will have to increase your prices unless you've already built that in. So that's something to consider. A lot of people, I'm surprised it hasn't come up today, will ask about going sole trader or limited. I can't advise that. Again, it depends on your own personal circumstances. I went limited at the beginning because I didn't want any hassles with, you know, liability. I had a small baby to deal with, and my husband had also started a firm. But you know, that's a personal circumstance. I don't know if ICB can advise on that. But the thing is, if you change later, you have to redo all your HMRC codes and things like that. So it may be something to consider.
Think about, isn't it? The other thing I was just going to bring up very quickly was around pricing as well. Now we could do a whole day around around the different pricing models, and we will be doing more content in the future, more webinars in the future around pricing. And it's something that you need to establish at the start, and you need to establish whether you're going to commoditize what you do and think about doing hourly pricing. You need to think about whether you're going to put your clients on a retainer, and then what that retainer includes, or you need to think about pricing on a job basis. Kirsty's going into a cupboard to find her pricing model.
I gotta find a book.
Got a book.
Oh,
Oh, this is the Engager one. Yeah, this is a really
yeah.
good.
So this is the Johan. You can get it on Amazon. There is a free version if if you're in the group, but it's not that he's going to tell you what to price, and nobody should. It's up to you. But think about it. So bookkeeping is not just bookkeeping. It's like, are they VAT registered? Are they? Do they need to think about well, that's that like locations, or different categories. Like, I need to know product A sold better than product B. If you need to split your invoices, and most of the software will do it for you, but if you need to spend extra time, then each purchase invoice is going to take you ages, or well, not ages, take you longer, and you need to make sure you're accounting for that. And equally on the sales side, each of those complexities, how many lines on a VAT report, sorry, how many lines on a bank statement, how many entries are there, how many bank accounts have you got to deal with? All of these things add to the complexity of the job, and that's what quite often accountants forget. They think it's just bookkeeping. It's like, it's really not just bookkeeping.
And also add into that, we're going to just mention it again around MTD, that if you've got clients that are sole traders or landlords and they have an income of over £50,000 from April 2026, they're going to be needing to file 4 times a year. So you need to build that in, and you can do that as an ICB bookkeeper level 2. So level 2, yes. So yeah, we'll do some more things on pricing, but it's just another thing that you need to think about before you start telling everybody that you've got your own practice and in the practice license. Okay. I've just gone back to my presentation again. I keep on forgetting to share. But we'll send this out with us because I've done the work. So let's make sure we use it. I just want to talk a little bit about the support that you get from ICB. So it's more fun, isn't it? You have as well as the ML guidance, you're going to have access to the compliance team, and as you can see, they're very friendly and helpful. We've got an awful lot of information on the website, and I know there's an awful lot of information on the website. So it's under resources if you want to go on our website. And I know there's an awful lot of information because as part of the new website, we are transferring the many, many pages of information over to the new website. And that's what is keeping me up very late at the moment. So we have got so much, not just around we've got all the forms and templates and things that you need for MLR around the whole practice risk assessments and registrations for MLOs and things like that. But yeah, lots around payroll. We run monthly webinars. We think there's between 4 and 6 hours of CPD webinars every month that we're putting on for members. So make sure that you're making the most of those resources, and they're going to look even better in 6 weeks' time. So, Laura, there isn't an ICB app, but the new website will be responsive, so you can access it more on your phone and things. But also think about how you use your branches as well. And I think there was some chat at the start around there are local branches and they do meet in person, don't they, Kirsty? But also we have an awful lot of virtual ones as well now.
Yeah. My Cambridgeshire group actually prefer to meet online these days. And that's partly because of our horrible Cambridgeshire roads with big ditches either side of them in the fens. But equally, it gives other people an opportunity to come from around the country. Some people can't make, or there are no real meetings in their area, and it's important that you can still join any.
Yeah, and really do lean on your fellow ICB members. We were at an event yesterday, and I was talking to an ICB member who'd turned up to this event in Liverpool all by herself and wasn't sure who to talk to or anything like that. But fortunately, Kirsty was there, and I was able to introduce them. And
we had a lovely chat, and I knew the name, and we talked online before anyway, so it's nice to meet her in person. Yeah.
Make sure you join the ICB Facebook group as well, and get involved in those sorts of things. So especially when it comes to finding work, your network is extremely powerful, and it's really worth taking the time to network locally with other businesses, but really think about networking within the industry as well, for guidance, because we know that ICB members love outsourcing different pieces of work to each other, and that can be a really good starting point, can't it?
Yes, really good. Makes a, you know, just we'd all rather keep it in the ICB family, is how we like to think of it.
Yeah.
Once you're in, you're never going to get out. You do know that.
This is true. This is true. So we'll send, unless there's any other questions, Kirsty, Abigail, is there anything else that you want to cover?
There's just a couple of things that I had forgotten to mention earlier, so I'm going to mention them now. Your AML supervision does come as part of your practice license. I didn't confirm that earlier, but when you apply for a practice license, you automatically apply for AML supervision as well. If you are already supervised by somebody else, whether it be AAT or HMRC or whatever, we can provide you with a practice license without supervision. You just need to let us know, but that's fine. And what was the other thing? Oh, also ICO registration. So before you set it, before you take on any clients and begin to hold client data, please make sure you're registered with the ICO, which is the Information Commissioner's Office. And you can do that online. It's super simple.
I think the price has just gone up according to Lucy. She put
Oh
somebody put a post
no!
up yesterday. Yeah.
Oh, that's a shame. But hopefully not
No,
too much.
Susanna mentioned it actually. So yeah, but I've put the link in the chat anyway. So
thank you, Kirsty. But yeah, that should cover everything.
Great. Okay. And on the email that we'll send out, we'll make sure that we've got everyone's contact details as well. At ICB, we love a chat. So please
good, because someone's asked for your phone number.
Yes, we'll put that in there. I'm sure Jasmine could put the number in there. And I'm sorry for not knowing off that. Yeah, so get in touch, ask us any questions, speak to fellow members, you know, on Facebook or LinkedIn, anything like that. But there's no daft questions. They're all things that you need to know. And also just take the leap. If not now, then when? And if not you, then who?
What was your number of people coming? 470,000 businesses that are between 50 and 80. So they're not that registered. They're not already in the system. They are all going to need quarterly returns on software. And
there's so the business is there, and we can help. We can support you to get it. And owning your own business is something that's going to fundamentally alter the course of your life. And you've got this. If you've got this far, you've got the qualifications and you've got the knowledge. So take the leap, and we'll be there. We'll be there to support you. Thank you, Abigail. Thank you, Kirsty. Thank you for everyone for joining us today.
Thanks, everyone.
Take care.
Good luck.